Understanding food labels. I'm sure all of us have tried, reading these labels on the food packets when we buy at supermarkets, especially when we are buying for our little children. But how many of us can interpret it? You know, that's very few of us indeed, I'm sure. So that's the most difficult part, to interpret what exactly it means. From the tall claims of boosting our child's mental and physical growth, or terms like heart healthy, gut friendly, low sugar, and the endless terms which we keep hearing. They sound very convincing, but what do they really mean? This is exactly why we have our nutrition expert here today. She'll help us decode these labels and also help us make informed choices through that for our children. With great pleasure, I would like to introduce Dr. Pooja Singhania, our child nutrition expert who comes with wide experience of 10 years in the field of nutrition and 5 plus years exclusively in maternal and child nutrition. Pooja holds a doctorate in food science and nutrition and is also the founder of Nourish 1000 Days, an organization that starts working on healthy eating patterns right from its foundation. That is first 1000 days of a child's life. So the child can have the right start to life with the best nutrition patterns. Hi Pooja, a very warm welcome and thanks a ton for taking out time and joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me here. As I always say, it's great to associate with clay because it's like a family to me. And what better time to have a discussion on understanding food labels, because I'm sure we are all updated with what's happening currently. And
Yeah.
also, being a mother to a 9-year-old, I know what it means to navigate through these, supermarket shelves, trying to figure what exactly can I let my child have after all.
Yeah.
And it means spending hours scrutinizing those labels. And I'm sure it's a little easier for me as a nutritionist, but then for all of us otherwise lay people, it's like a jigsaw, right? Like there are confusing terms. So then I'm so happy that we are having this discussion today, and I wish that parents go back with lots more clarity on this topic today.
I'm sure they will, Pooja.
Hmm.
So let's start with sugar, Pooja. The most looked down upon but present in every household kitchen ingredient. Although we all love eating sugar with a little guilt, I'm sure I do, but at some point we need to be a little bit conscious because it is very harmful for our health. So, how can I tell whether a food packet has a high amount of added sugar? If there are any healthier alternatives you would suggest.
Right. So see, yes, it's good to make a start with sugar here because there are very strict regulations for sugar intake for children especially,
Right.
because we have realized the amount of impact it has on complete health and well-being of a child, and that too starting from a very young age. Okay, so as you can see here, there are regulations given by the government, especially the
Yeah.
World Health Organization or even the American Academy of Pediatrics. They talk about the limits for sugar, because below 2 years, of course, a child should have no sugar at all. Between 4 to 6 years, it would be less than 19 grams, and 7 to 10 years is less than 24 grams, and finally 10 and above, any person 10 and above is supposed to have less than 6 teaspoons of sugar in a day. So we are worried about sugar, and we have set a limit for this because we know that it is the cause for a lot of the metabolic conditions that we are facing. We are like the diabetic capital now. So that is why there is a limit put to this particular ingredient. And then for a child, we see that there are often certain behavioral characteristics of a child that you cannot really explain as to why the child is behaving in a certain way. And then we cannot connect it directly with food often, but we need to understand that having realized that this effect of sugar is going to be there on their mental and physical health. So in physical terms, I'm sure all of us know it could be associated with obesity, diabetes, with allergies, asthma, inflammatory diseases, basically because it suppresses the immunity of a child. And also on various other mental or basically behavioral characteristics, such as your attention deficit, or being having leading to hyperactivity. So all of these are supposed to be taken care of, and the child has to be protected from these exposures to sugar. So that is why we look at regulating sugar intake. And however, because as a consumer, yeah, the mother might be also conscious looking for the term sugar on a food packet. It is now given different names. Okay, so there is like a list of at least 40 different names under which sugar is present in a packet, but we don't see it as sugar. Okay, so it could mean corn syrup solids, it could mean high fructose corn syrup, it might mean something like malt syrup, rice syrup. So it's like the names are different, but it all means it's eventually sugar.
Sugar. Oh my god. Wow. I didn't know that sugar is disguised under so many different names. This was an eye opener, Pooja. So, Pooja, the terms like healthy food options, healthy snacking are very popular. These days we hear it so much. How do I know if a food is truly healthy based on the information on the label? Or
Yeah.
and if you could share some tips for choosing healthy snacks or supplements for our children, what should we choose from the market, and what should we look in for the in that label?
Sure. So, yes, you're right that understanding a mother's perspective, or basically a consumer's pulse, there are claims which actually look like this is what you were really looking for. So when you read a term real, when you read terms like natural, you feel like, yes, I think this is safe for my child, and I should allow that to my child, and it would be something closer to being as unprocessed as possible, or as close to nature. So
Yeah.
then these terms are used, but then honestly they are used very loosely, because then they might not exactly signify what they mean. So real might not just mean that, yeah, there is a real fruit in that, or a real vegetable is used. But yes, there are there is some way to get away with using a form of that vegetable or fruit, but then still claiming it to be really present in that particular product. Okay, so then it becomes very misleading, because you think that, oh, I'm giving a juice which has real fruits in it, but then what about the sugar that is coming along with it? Yeah, or else
Yeah.
I'm giving certain kind of gummy bears which have a lot of multivitamins in it, because I was looking for those specific vitamins. But then if it is then again loaded with lots of sugar, then instead of improving my immunity, it's indeed going to suppress it. So it's a very fine line between understanding exactly how are you going to decipher whether, at what cost am I getting that particular nutrient which I'm looking for. What is the price I'm paying for it? Does that mean getting too much of sugar? Does that mean getting too much of sodium again into my child's body, which is eventually not what you're looking at, right?
True.
So then there are, however, now, thankfully so, there are products now in the market which are made by moms. Okay, so we are we do understand that it's like necessity is the mother of all inventions, right? So we realized that when mothers saw that I could not find a healthy food for my child, I think I should help solve this problem for other mothers. So then there have been products developed by mompreneurs, where you will be able to see that there is a clean label with everything written out clearly as to which ingredient is present, and then there is no artificial flavors, no artificial colors, no preservatives added, and that's the thing you can trust. Okay, so basically on a label, the very simple funda, Nena, would be to see that do you understand every ingredient on the label, right? As long as that term is resonating with you, you have heard it at least somewhere throughout your childhood, or you know, and you understand it, like, it sounds like food to me, then that would be the safe bet to go for that food which sounds like familiar to you, right?
Correct.
So that's how we can navigate through the labels. But yes, in the current times, I can say there are products which are coming from moms who are caring enough to develop products for kids around who can enjoy a variety of foods and get their nutritional needs met. Yeah, so that is definitely there. And of course, when it comes to claims, they are strictly regulated also now, more so by the government. So there would be, like, a cutoff which you give to say, how much sodium is there. So what do you call salt free? So when there is less than 5 milligrams of sodium in the serving, then you call it sodium free, and stuff like that. So then that much regulation is there to help us navigate. Yeah. Yeah, and also, like we talk about the percent daily value, right? So a lot of us think that, I wonder what this would mean, right? Like, this food product is meeting so much of my daily value. So one is that we have to understand that you and me, there would be an upper limit to how much of a certain nutrient we need, right? That which is needed for our basic functioning and overall, helping us to function well and have our growth, physical and mental growth met, right? So based on that, we all have assigned daily values. Okay, but from that daily value, what how much percentage is this food product going to meet? So that becomes my percent daily value. Okay, but so then, then there is a markup, right? Like, okay, I should not get more than 5% of my sodium daily value through a particular food product, because I'll be eating at least 20 different foods throughout the day. So I cannot ensure that everything is met through one food, so it's going to be a variety. So then there is a markup that, okay, only so much should be met, and then above this it will exceed your daily requirements. So then they put a cap through the serving sizes, right? So then there is a cap of a serving size that, okay, this product contains so much. If you will eat so much helping of this product, then you will meet such a requirement, and then it will not be in excess of what you need also, and it will also be nominal. So then, if I'm having something for its vitamin C content or for its vitamin A content, then at the same time I make sure that it still does not cross my sodium intake limits or sugar intake limits, and that's where it helps me navigate. So as you see that, a container, or say maybe a pack of cookies has 10 cookies, but then they will mention the serving size. That means you just need to have maybe just two cookies at a time and not more, because that two cookies is going to meet your, or just about be enough to prevent crossing the limit of sugar intake for the day. Okay, so that's how these labels are regulated, and that's where the percent daily value and serving size are important indicators. Okay.
Okay, that's really a revelation, Pooja. That will really be helpful next time we are buying something, a food packet, especially from market. Coming to Pooja, can you also talk about the guidelines for food labeling? In India. Also, if you could throw some light on government initiatives that can help us prevent getting misleaded as consumers.
Yes, absolutely. So, again, understanding the need of today's consumer, the government is really taking steps to ensure that labels become very easy to understand for all of us. Okay, that it should not be, like with some fancy jargons, like you said, which seem intimidating to us, and some code words which are going to be there, because a lot of food additives come under codes. Okay, so there's an E400 and E600 and stuff like that. So when they are trying to simplify the food labels for us, so there are rating systems which are now being created. Okay, so of course, a lot of other countries have also adopted these rating systems, and what we are really pushing now is a front of package labeling. Okay, so it's called FOPL. Okay, so front of package labeling means right up on the front panel of your food, you are able to see, or there is an indication as to, is this food healthy for you or not. So this healthy for you or not may be indicated in simple things like maybe a traffic light. Okay, so red means, oh, it's dangerous. Orange meaning, okay, like you may want to indulge, and then green meaning, okay, it's all good for you, go ahead.
Yeah.
So that kind of rating, which some of the countries have adopted. Then there could be a star rating. So they are also contemplating a star rating, like 5 stars may say इस प्रोडक्ट को कितने स्टार्स मिल रहे हैं, so you're giving a rating. So as a
Hmm.
consumer you understand, okay, ठीक है, 3 stars है तो maybe I will still have it, or maybe if it's 5 star I'll have it more frequently, but if it's
Yeah.
just half a star I'm going to probably not have it at all. Okay, so
Okay.
that brings in a lot of transparency. So even the manufacturer is having that responsibility to ensure that they are able to achieve that star rating, which the consumer will then feel happy about buying, right?
Wow.
So that star rating or signal system, these are the common ones which are being used now to help people be able to rate food products on their own while they're buying.
Okay. Before we go to another question, I would like to request parents to start typing in your question so we can take it in a while. We'll start taking up your questions in a while. So, yeah. So, Pooja, how do I make sure that my child is, getting all the nutrients while they are picky eaters?
Okay, yeah, that's a that's a tricky one. In fact, see, that's why I think a lot of, like I shared before, a lot of mompreneurs are now developing products, considering that children end up eating smaller portions. And again, I always say that I don't like to label children as being picky. Okay, because it's a part of your you can say that they're selective eaters, and all of us to an extent are selective, right? Like you and me might not just put everything into our mouth. That's something we all can respect, right? Like I may not want to put a sushi into my mouth unless I feel like, okay, this looks familiar to me, or I think I want to try it. So there would be a lot of things going on in my mind before I put it into my mouth. Similarly, for a child, it's so much of the environment playing upon their mind before they put anything, they decide to pick it up and put it into their mouth. So that's selective eating. Okay, and then they use their own sense of judgment and a lot of thought process before they put things. So then it's not just that, okay, they are picky, so they may be selective, yes, but at the same time you want to ensure that they're achieving good growth, which would be both mental and physical growth. So then you may look at some of these products developed by conscious parents itself, who are looking to fill that gap where a child is missing. Say for example, a child is missing upon a nutrient like selenium, or a child is missing upon magnesium. So these nutrients, this nutrient gap can be fulfilled by that, maybe that particular granola bar, or that particular gummy bear again, which would have those ingredients, but along with that, it does have the right other constituent ingredients which are not going to harm your child in any way. So that's where you can try to strike a balance. Also, you know what, interestingly so, and I wouldn't say unfortunately, but in a way, processed food has a certain level of consistency. Okay, like it is a particular shape and form every time, right? It's going to taste the same every time you take it. So some kids appreciate that. Okay, like they like that consistency. It might give them a sense of security associating that food, that it's always going to have that crunch, it's always going to have that smell. So they may, associate it with a sense of security, that yes, this is consistent, it's familiar to me. Okay,
Comfort food
whereas,
for us,
yeah,
maybe.
comfort. And when yeah, I'm sure, see, all of us relate to it, right? But when it's a home cooked meal, it is bound to be variable every time, right? Like a dudi will also not be the same in throughout the year, and no
True, true,
matter
true.
how many times you cook it, it's not going to be
It's
exactly
not
the
the same.
same, right? Sometimes you put less salt, less sugar, more sugar, so it's going
True.
to be variable. So then for a child, it's just that everything associated with that food matters. So then there would be days then they would accept that food more, but then there would be days when they would want to hang on to something that is very familiar to them, right? So yes, in such cases we strike a balance between whatever we know as being natural, home cooked, and at the same time probably getting hands on some of the processed foods which are again safe, which are again very properly labeled, and then letting the child, have a balance of
Have
the two.
both of little of both. Right.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
rightly put, Pooja. Pooja, how about food allergy? Sometimes parents are concerned. What if my child has a food allergy? What to look for in the food labels?
Right. So again, fortunately, government has strictly regulated the allergen warnings. Okay, so we do have all the food packets now always carry the food allergen warning that this particular product has been processed in a facility. So even if the food is remotely going to come in touch with, say, the common allergens like a peanut or a soya bean, or for that matter maybe any other nut or wheat or anything like that, because now people are gluten sensitive, some of them may be casein sensitive, so if there's a lactose intolerance, so then the food packet is going to carry a proper label that this product has been processed in a facility that has this. So then the person who's buying can be very very sure that I'm not going to take something, because yes, allergic reactions in certain cases for some kids can be very very dangerous, right? It can be really very harmful. So then we don't take a chance there, and then there is a clear demarcation or a clear note written as to which are the allergens present in the food.
Right. Okay. So, Pooja, how about we go to our parents' questions now?
Yeah, there are a lot of
We've already
questions here,
started
I can
coming.
see. Hmm.
So, okay, how to ensure sufficient nutrition to a child who has, okay, I think allergy question we just answered, dairy allergy and other food allergies.
Yeah,
Coming
but
to,
just I would like to add here that because she has mentioned dairy allergy, so she is really concerned that if the child is not having milk and milk products, then
hmm,
it can be really, a lot of challenge, because everything you take is going to have milk and milk, products. So
yeah,
yes, I know, but then please note that we now have a lot of vegan food options. So a parent whose child is not tolerating milk and milk products can stick to a lot of nut and nut milks and stuff like that. So
huh,
nut milk, nut butters are what are your great alternatives. And trust me, there are like a lot of communities now of vegan people, right? So and then they fervently share a lot of recipes and everything. So I
true.
know for myself also, because we don't take much milk, that there is a lot of option, and you can, with little effort, you can really enjoy pretty much everything in a vegan way or in a dairy free way. Yeah.
Yeah, so
Yes.
true. Okay. Another one is from a parent says, are the food labels mentioned organic will really be fully organic? As such, they are trusted. Yeah. Because they are stored for
True.
long
So
as well. Yeah, true. Yeah. Interesting.
yeah, so thank you for asking this question. It's very relevant. So yes, see there is again when I say organic, of course there are strict regulations now to ensure that before you get an organic certification, you have taken care of fulfilling certain requirements. But at the same time, you can never make out, right? If you have a organic banana versus a local banana, you really can't make out. Like there's no way to test it by your eye or visual appearance. Okay, in
Yeah.
fact, so I think how I go through this is really, again, it's maybe my coping mechanism, I can say. Okay, or my so then I just think that all of us can look for local foods, okay, and look for seasonal things. So then you get away with you. So it's like, if you really like, now it's mango season, okay, but now there are people who want to eat mangoes even in winter, okay, so we'll store it, right? We'll just
Yeah.
store the pulp and we'll keep it in the freezer ki acha
Yeah.
nahi, we want to enjoy amras later on. So that way, you are doing your level of preservation, so somebody else is also trying to preserve it, because someday some consumer will ask that, no, I want strawberry in summer also, I want to make a cake, or I want to do. So then there is a preservation done. And then that, but again, coming back to organic, is like, if we stick to something that's local to your place, something that is seasonal at that time, then there is less likelihood of it containing those harmful pesticides or chemicals, because I don't have to make an extra effort to save this or procure it right now, right? So if
Right.
a vegetable is growing in a certain season, I eat plenty of that in that season, and then next season I make peace with the fact that I'll not get it anymore, and I move on to what is available later.
Yeah.
Okay, so being local, being seasonal is going to help you to ensure that you are being less exposed to pesticides and chemicals. That's, I think, one coping mechanism we can
Right.
use.
Otherwise, we just keep watching, and even I do, like we all do. Organic, hai to, let's order organic, must be better. But I'm
Yeah,
sure
true.
if it is not seasonal, it is stored. Yeah.
Hmm. Hmm.
Okay. Uh, can we? Okay. The next question is: can we give packed yogurts to children under 3?
Yeah, so again, this would be little subjective. I without taking any brand names, if you see that in the yogurt all the ingredients are seeming to be known to you, natural. Again, we don't want too much of sugar happening there. We don't want too much of those thickening agents, or the thickeners are going to be added to a specific yogurt, because yogurts need to maintain a certain consistency. So if you see that there are unknown ingredients on the label, then best to avoid it. If again, I know that parents think that sometimes it's something like, easy to carry, and also I think occasionally, yes, if you're on a trip, and especially if you're abroad and all, and if you think your child needs to have something filling, and then at the same time something comforting, and you pick up a yogurt, I think that's
Yeah.
okay. Occasionally it's okay, right?
Yeah.
But then not on a regular basis that every day it features on your table. I think homemade curd set very well would be the best option.
True. Completely agree with you, Pooja. Yeah. Um. Okay. We have another one. Can we give okay, yogurt is an all-purpose flour? Maida is a common ingredient in almost all the food that kids eat happily, like biscuits, bread, noodles. How do we monitor that ingredient? The intake of maida. How much of it can do a long-term harm?
True. So again, see, yeah. So when we spoke about sugar, we really spoke about the added sugar. Okay, so we spoke about how much of the sugar in the sugar form can we have, right? But then we also see that the food might have a lot of carbohydrate, which is also like a sugar. Okay, so now there is good carbohydrate and bad carbohydrate, and out of that, as the parent has rightly asked, the all purpose flour or the maida is the bad carbohydrate, which is not really. So why we are calling it bad carbohydrate is because it is devoid of other nutrients. Okay, so when a food, like in a bite of a food, say maybe in a bite of a apple, you're
Yeah.
going to get multiple nutrients in just one bite, right? So it's
Yeah.
going to have vitamin C, it's going to have antioxidants, it's going to have a lot of fiber, etc., right? But then, as opposed to that, one bite of uh, a pasta or
Biscuit.
a noodles, okay, so what is based on maida, so that one bite is only giving me maida and nothing else, right? Like they might be using
Yeah.
some fat in it or something like that, but then it does not have any other nutrient in it, right? Because of the way maida is processed, right, the wheat is made rid of its fiber and its all its covering, so all the vitamins are lost and everything, and what you have is finally just some flour. So now that is what we are thinking, right? Like we don't want that bite goes waste, because as we all know, our child is going to end up eating like a half a few bites of the food. So you want every bite to count, you want it to make the difference, right? You want it to be packed with nutrients. So then you don't want to have things which are having maida, because it's empty calorie food kind of a thing. Okay, so it's a calorie without nutrients. And so yes, in the long term it does a lot of harm. I know I'm putting this on record, but I can call it like it's like a slow poison. It's like you will not see the impact now. You will see it in a few years. So it doesn't show immediately on a child's body that okay, उसने मैदा खा लिया, so it's ये हो रहा है अभी. You cannot see it right away, but then
Yeah.
it slowly acts on their body. So we know that these things, they clog arteries. We know that this is what is going to be the cause for allergies, inflammation. So yes, it is harmful, and that's why homemade alternatives are always better. So you make a samosa with using a full whole wheat flour at home and serve your child. That's absolutely good, but really not going for those processed food options which are better. Yeah,
Yeah, I think I completely agree. Well, a little tweak, and having the same food, you can have the same food. You just have to make little tweaks. Okay.
great.
Uh, what is the alternative of sugar and salt? we
Yeah.
can use it in we can use daily in food.
Right, right. So see the if we talk about sugar first, I would say that depend on whatever is available in nature as sweet. Okay, so your first go to should be like whatever is sweet in nature, take it the way it is. So whether it's dates, whether it is figs, whether it is banana, whether it is sweet potato. See, these things have a naturally sweet taste, and it's for a reason that they are meant to be sweet. Okay, God intended it, nature intended it to be that way. So yes, try to use that as a sweetener as your first option. Okay. However, and I know so many recipes, trust me, where people are using sweet potato to make rabris, or they use dates to make your halwas and everything. So everything is possible now because
Yeah,
everybody is becoming so conscious. So you
dates
can
powder is used
easily.
widely. Dates powder these days.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Date powder is used
That's
so
a very good
widely. So
ingredient.
all, and then you have coconut sugar also. So then you are having alternatives now which are nature derived, which you can use easily to skip the sugar, and especially the white sugar, which I would really again put on record is like poison. Uh, so you have those alternatives, of course. Then I think second on the list would be going for jaggery, or maybe even raw honey, or
Yeah.
maybe even the khand sugar options. Yeah, and so whatever you can do to kick off the white sugar from your kitchen, please go for all those options. The next would be salt. Yes, the salt again. See, salt is not as bad as in the sense that by nature it was not intended to be like this. So natural salt, which we say, for example, we are getting sea salt or the Himalayan pink salt, those salt is good for body and it's meant to be used. Our body needs that amount of sodium,
Yeah.
and along with that sodium are coming a host of other important minerals because they are coming from nature directly to us. But then what we need to avoid is that free flowing white refined salt. Of course, again, I know I can get into the controversy of iodine requirements and therefore iodized salt, which is like the regular salt. But yeah, I mean, again, that's a very debatable topic. But yes, if you can stick to natural salt sources and of course use it in discretion, with discretion in limited amounts, then the sea salt or the Himalayan pink salt are good options.
Are good options. How about brown sugar? Just was curious.
Yeah, so yeah, yeah. So see, with brown sugar, again, you have to be very sure that it's actually the truly the brown sugar. So basically, brown sugar means the
Okay. Yeah.
molasses are retained. Okay, so if you know that you're getting, so it will be more so, it will be called as raw sugar now rather than brown sugar. Okay, because
Okay.
initially people got away with getting caramelized sugar as brown sugar, and chalo,
Ah,
okay, this is brown,
yeah.
so it's not processed. But now we know better that with the molasses is the right kind of brown sugar or raw sugar.
Okay.
So raw sugar would be a right term to use here, and that would be safer to use. Yes.
Okay. Okay. So we have one more question. Food claims sweet products are good for kids like wheat noodles, cornflakes, pasta. These days they have these options of wheat in it. So are they good? Is it true?
Yeah, so exactly. See, like we discussed, you have to look at the ingredient list and see what is the primary ingredient in these particular products, right?
Okay.
So, say you have a multi-grain pasta, okay? So, in that multi-grain, you're expecting, and then you get millet pastas also now, right? Because we know it's the year of the millet, so yes, you're getting millet-based pasta. So I'm
Yeah.
really, I would be so happy to have a millet based pasta. But let's be conscious that what is the hierarchy of the ingredient in that particular product. Okay, so if the first ingredient in that product is again maida, means it is present in the highest amount in that particular food, and then your rest of the ingredients would be in smaller amounts, like maybe there'd be like only a 5 gram of your a little millet, or maybe another 10 grams of your foxtail millet and things like that, but your primary ingredient is refined wheat flour and the rest of them are there in fine print, small amounts, then no use. Just rather than go for a real millet based chapati, or go for eating the millet as it is. So this also brings us to what is called as ultra processed food. So these are ultra processed, they are not just broken down to make it simple for you to eat. So for example, like the way a moong grows, okay, I cannot directly eat the moong as it is, right? I'm sure for 80% of us don't know also how moong grows. Okay, so the way a moong grows, I'm not going to be able to eat it directly, so I have to process it, meaning I'm going to pluck it, I'm going to dry it, and then I'm going to remove all the dirt, and then that is some level of processing. That's okay, that I'm doing it so that it is edible for me, right? But ultra processing means that moong is then broken down and then refined, and I'm removing all the fiber, and and then I want to make it a product which is very smooth and which is very free flowing, and so then I'm landing up with a moong pasta or a moong based noodle. So then it's ultra processing, and when you process something from nature to a degree that it totally changes its structure, shape and form and flavor, everything, then that's not how we were supposed to eat it. Yeah, so let's use that discretion, that ultra processed food is definitely not going to give us anything. Yeah, as close to how nature intended it to be, we have to stick to it that way and have eat it that way. Okay, although it might mean, like, it may mean long cooking hours, it might mean a lot of pre-preparation. Like, I have to soak this grain for a long time, I may have to sprout this grain, I may have to sun dry the grain and then use it. So these are traditional practices, but they hold a lot of value. I may have to ferment the grain. Okay, so those are things which our ancestors did, and dada dadis did, and maybe they still do, because they understand that, I need to treat this food in a certain way, so that eventually when it goes inside my body, it does what it has to. Okay, and at the same time, it's not having any harmful ingredients added to it. Yeah, so that's where we have to be sure that we are not falling for the trap of ultra processed food. Yeah. You're on mute, Nena.
I'm so sorry. So in silicone products are like plates and spoons for kids these days, you know, are quite popular. So
Yes, I
are
will
they
say,
good?
yeah.
To see?
Yes, yes. So yes, I know that uh, uh, we 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 categorize what are safe food grade kind of utensils for a child. So yes,
Yes.
silicone qualifies as being safe. It's better alternative to plastic. Yeah. However, yes, and then yeah. So far, I don't see any evidence of anything going against silicone. Of course, I'm not. Uh, Directly trying to promote it. I think banana leaves would work better, or maybe even using stainless steel, silverware, because again. Traditionally, people ate certain foods in silverware because the silver would leach into the food, and that you get the properties of the silver, right? Or you would eat in a copper vessel because you're trying to get the properties, or clay vessels, iron vessels. Of course, they are used more for cooking, but then for serving also, if you're going to stick to some more natural, nature-made food, items, nature-made, nature-derived items for making the serving plates and stuff. So then that is even better. But yes, silicone is not proven to be harmful, and it's a better alternative to plastic. Yes.
Okay. Uh, Coming to milk brands, how to choose milk brands for children.
Oh God. I always tell that I can talk about milk for an hour, and it would never end. Yeah, so milk
Or
brands.
I
Okay.
think there's an addition to it is adding a milk supplement better, or
Yeah,
or a dry
correct,
fruit
correct. So
mix.
I know that, right, right. So then I know that a lot of parents are very eager, I would say, to give milk to the child, and we always have had this notion that milk is a complete food, and so it should be a part of a child's regular diet. However, just right now, I've done a complete series on milk and what it actually is, where it comes from, how it's processed, and stuff. So I would, probably invite parents to just have a look at our page. But yes, coming back to the question, so choosing milk brands, to make it short, please try to take milk, procure milk of a desi Indian cow, which is like a A2 milk, which is now very easily available, very popular also, because a consumer is asking for it, you're getting it. So A2 milk is what we have to look for. Try to get raw milk, because that's how the animal would also drink it. Yeah, they don't heat the milk and have it from the mother. So you also need to not heat it or again process it too much. So raw milk, A2 milk, yeah, and maybe of the cow that you are rearing lovingly at home. I know, which seems like impossible task, but yeah, that's my take on milk. And so again, coming to the second part of the question, milk supplements. So if your child is not accepting milk, please respect that the child may think that I don't need to depend on milk of another species. Okay, so a human baby can get mother's milk Okay, that's how even nature has designed us, right? A mother can provide milk to her own baby, and it's highly customized to her own child's needs. Okay, because no one understands a child better than a mother, right? So the cow is customizing the milk for her own calf, but a mother is customizing a milk for her own baby, and she can give that customized milk to her baby for up to 5 years or even 7 years. Okay, and then beyond that, does a child really need milk is a question mark. Okay, it's very debatable. So if your child is not accepting milk of another animal, let it be. You may want to try giving them some other nut milks. Like I said, you can look at coconut milk, almond milk, peanut milk, things like that. But then don't force your child to have milk, and which means that yes, these milk supplements or powders of milk are not needed so that your child gulps down that glass of milk. No, don't do that. It's also not a right association you build with milk. Okay, that I think, I mean, honestly, I have grown up on flavored milk, and I think that used to be a comfort food because it was so sweet and sugary and, yeah, chocolatey at times. But I know now for a fact that I don't think that association should be there with milk. And so, if your child is not having, there are many alternatives. Yeah.
Okay. How about these supplements? They wanted to ask, like, my child does not drink plain milk. What can I aim
Yeah.
at to change the flavor, or maybe a milk supplement that we can use? Maybe a dry fruit mix is also what they're asking.
Yeah. So see, like I said, that firstly, if the child is not accepting milk at all, don't try to force it down. Secondly, if you want to enhance the nutritional quality of milk, definitely you don't have to depend on any powders, or you don't have to depend on any commercial food products. I think going back to tradition, we could probably put badam, kesar, gulkan, right, or even maybe pista, and banana, anything like that to flavor the milk, but really not having to depend on any powders.
Naturally.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Are oats good for kids?
Okay. Yeah, so again, it's a little I mean, again, oats also contain gluten. Okay, so we are seeing a lot of gluten sensitivity in populations now. I know that one might say that the only few people are sensitive to gluten, but in our experience so far, a lot of people do very well when they are on gluten free diet. So oats is also a gluten containing grain. However, you do have other alternatives to oats. Now, oats has been really marketed so strongly that you think that that's the next best breakfast option you have after cornflakes, because it's easy to cook, very quick, and then we talk about the high fiber content of oats. But
Yes.
barley is an Indian brother to oats, which not many people use because it's not marketed that way. It's not available in the same kind of form as oats. So then we don't know much about it, but I would say that it's great to depend on Indian indigenous millets and not depend on things like, again, for the record, not having to depend on things like oats, quinoa, and couscous and other grains which are not local to us. Okay, so let's stick to grains, millets which are indigenous. Again, coming back to local, desi, go for desi varieties. So I'm sure we have lot of alternatives to oats in the Indian
Yes.
context, so we can choose those.
That's great. All right. I think we have the last one now. Which mineral helps build strong bones?
Calcium. So calcium does, and I know again then parents will say if दूध नहीं पिएगा तो calcium कहाँ से मिलेगा? I know, but again, for the record, there are many other sources of calcium in nature. For example, sesame seeds is one of the richest source of calcium, even more than milk. Okay, so you do get calcium from plant foods as well. So calcium is required for bone health, but for absorption of calcium into the bone, it needs some more friends. Okay, So it's like, you want to enter a classroom, you have to come with a group of people. So it's like you have to bring along magnesium, vitamin D, and vitamin K2. When you want calcium to go and sit in the bone, you have to bring these three friends along, and then only you go to the right place. So that's where one has to be careful that we have something which has calcium plus magnesium plus vitamin K plus vitamin D.
Right. This was quite revelation. Even I was like, okay, calcium, yes, we know, but we keep drinking milk. But yes, this combination is something that usually people don't think about. Thank you so much, Pooja. I think here we have, I think we've answered almost all the questions. Parents, please do write to us if you have any more questions on the topic and in the comments on the video when we post it, and we'll try to answer them as well. As we start wrapping up the session in the interest of time, Pooja, I would really like to thank you for this very informative session. You shared some really interesting and practical tips on, decoding food labels, identifying key nutrients, and some proactive steps that parents can take for avoiding common pitfalls and misconceptions. I'm sure all our parents sitting on the other side of the screen loved the session as much as I did. I'm sure I will start looking at these food labels more carefully now. And so, before we wrap up the session, Pooja, what is that one key piece of advice that you would like to give our parents that can help them choose the best kind of nutrition patterns for their children?
Yeah, so again, in a very traditional way, I would like to say that real foods don't need labels. Okay, so for example, if you're going to buy spinach or carrot, you don't need to look at a label and see, okay, how many grams of iron is this going to give me, or is it going to give me X amount of vitamin A? No,
Yeah,
you just trust nature that it has already put everything that you needed into it because of the things coming from the soil, the things coming from the sunlight, the things coming from the water that has been given to it.
yeah,
So, real foods don't need labels. And when you have to navigate through a complex label, then that food is not real. Okay, so then just make a real judgment here as to what you want to focus upon. Okay, and what you really want to put inside your body. So it's like, before you try anything, you often ask, like, Isme, how what have you put into this? I need to understand before I put it. So just be very sure similarly that you're reading a packet and you're understanding everything that is there before you're putting it into your mouth. So even though it smells great, it may taste great, be sure to know that your body understands all the ingredients that are there in it. Yeah, so I think that would be the takeaway
key
for
takeaway
everyone.
and a very helpful one.
You're
Thank you so
welcome.
much, Pooja. Uh, Thanks a ton, everyone, for joining us today. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you for having me. Yeah, take care.